Hello, you are listening to or perhaps watching Whistlekick Martial Arts Radio. I am your co host, although today our regular host Jeremy is not with us. I am joined by Tashi Mark Warner. Hello, Tashi. How are you?
Very good. How you doing tonight, Mr. Andrew?
I am doing very well. And Tashi Mark and I are going to sit down and discuss whether knowing lineage is important. But before we get there, let's just remind you of a couple of things. Whistlekick Martial Arts Radio is where you're going to want to go to get all of the show notes and all the details about this episode and every other episode that we do. You can find transcripts there. You can find other photos of the guests and whatnot. You also can go to whistlekick.com to make a purchase if you want to purchase maybe some sparring gear or some cool t-shirts or some hoodies. And if you go there, you can use the code podcast15 and save yourself 15%. Who doesn't like to save money, right? So you might as well go ahead and do that. If you're also looking to support the show, another great way is to join our Patreon. Patreon/whistlekick. And you can help make sure that this show happens. Because believe it or not, this show is not free. It costs money to make it happen. So you can be a part of that, which would be great. So Tashi Mark, you already said you're doing well. When I sent the message out to a few people and said, "Hey, anybody want to record an episode?" You were like, "Me."
Me, very much so. Well, as you know, last week we had our free training day up in Keene, which was awesome, fantastic, super wicked awesome. Right there, you get your shirt on. I should have mine. I'm free training day naked, I guess. But anyways, so I gave one of the things I did is I did two segments. I did on the floor, and I did a lecture segment, which was based on myths, legends, and other things.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I had two kinds of people in the room. I had like the old timers, like you and me, who've been around a while and knows of stuff. Then we have the next generation, the teens and younger adults. Well,
Yep.
that made it very interesting because all the old timers knew the legends and the myths. I went around to the younger. In fact, I asked. This is a good story. This is a good little thing here. I asked one of the students of he's a Kempo student actually, and I said, "Do you know any legends?" He looks at me and goes, "Mr. Wareham." Now Craig is a nice fellow, but Craig Wareham, yeah, I guess he could be a legend, at least a legend in his own mind. So I found that really, really a really interesting place to start.
Yeah.
And I started going around the room a little bit, asking the younger ones who they thought were legends in their systems. We're talking Kempo, we're talking Taekwondo. That was basically the two main styles in the room at the time for the younger generation.
Mm-hmm.
They were kind of speechless. Like then it got to the point where you guys know your lineage, and they were still kind of speechless. So the older guys in the room, Matt Brown was there, and Nick Tabor and John Broder. We were kind of like, this is very interesting because we came up right at the peak. And I want to say at the peak because I've been thinking about this a few more days. We came up at the peak when we were hungry for this lineage. Because early on in my training, it was kind of like, that's William Chow on the wall. How do we relate to him? And nobody would tell us because it was kind of like, well, we have to put somebody up there. He got up there. This is my lineage now. So I started getting hungrier and hungrier for lineage. I felt it was so important to follow that route to go. You're from a more traditional aspect. You're a Japanese tradition, so your lineage is probably more pressed upon you and probably easier to follow. I would say.
Yeah,
But for
for the most part, yes. It definitely, like, I can talk about lineage for the Shorin-ryu dojo that I currently train at. My instructor, his instructor, going back 3 generations, and then I can, at the very top, I know where it all started. But there's definitely some fuzziness in the middle, and I think part of that fuzziness is that they trained with lots of different people. But I get what you're saying.
Right. I watch a lot of Jesse Enkamp, so he kind of says that all karate in Okinawa, the birthplace of karate, pretty much comes from the same spot, and they all did train together way back then. If you look at the, I'm going off on this tangent. If you look at the at least three of the main styles of Okinawan karate at their forms, they're pretty similar. A
Yep,
lot
yep,
of the
I
same
would
stuff,
absolutely agree.
which is great. And of course, please, Andrew, if I misspeak on anything, correct me. Sometimes I speak out of other orifices, but we won't go there. So, we're talking about lineage, yes. So, as you can see, even the banter between you and me, we have a concept of where we came from. I think it's very important because if we forget where we came from, then where we start to head is going to fall back off the train tracks of where our generation took it, which is to a better state. In fact, talking and working with the older gentlemen in the room, we were like, this is where we want to be, and this is where we want the youth to go.
Okay, let me play devil's advocate for just a moment, because I suspect you and I are going to be in pretty. We're going to be seeing eye to eye on a lot of this, but playing devil's advocate, something I brought up when Jeremy and I did an episode on, is it important to know the language of the style that you train in? So if you train in Kung Fu, is it important to learn Chinese? If you train in Okinawan or Japanese arts, is it important to know those languages, right? And the argument that the question I asked, playing devil's advocate, which I'm going to ask to you, is if you've got two students and one knows their lineage really well and one does not, does the one that does not know their lineage, are they going to be able to punch stronger or kick harder or be faster? Is it going to make them a better practicing martial artist? That's my question for you.
If they know their lineage,
I mean,
definitely.
If they don't know their lineage, are they going to be slower than the person that does?
I believe they could actually be slower learners.
Okay.
Because if you don't know your lineage, you may feel that something works because it looks cool. And I say that right up front because it wasn't until recently when I started working with yourself and others like that, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, other people are learning or finding this way too. This is a karate style. This is pretty cool. Now, if I didn't know my lineage and the route that we had taken, I might just be trying to punch and kick.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I've heard other instructors who I don't think went through their lineage much are more concerned with the punching and the kicking, where they prefer for certain forms over others because they feel that they fight more with the punching and the kicking. Where, God's honest truth, if 25 years ago I met you at Matt Brown, my school would be a lot different. I'd be teaching something close to the Shotokan. Because and actually that does cross over into the Shaolin I teach because of the motion of the body and the motion of the hands, the hand techniques you can take from here. If you do not know your lineage, all of a sudden you're just doing.
Interesting. So I look at it. I will answer my own question, being devil's advocate. I do not think that the person that knows their lineage will be any better at punching or kicking or moving. I don't think they'll be faster. I think if they're faster, it's because they just naturally are faster. I don't think knowing your lineage is going to help you do any technique, right? However, I do agree what you said that it might make you a better learner, and here's why. And it comes down to that last word I just said, why, right? Knowing where you come from can help you understand why things changed. Because let's face it, I don't care who you are in this world, you are likely not teaching the exact same stuff that the founder of your style taught, unless you're in a martial art that is very, very, very young. But if you're training in any, Goju-ryu, Shotokan, Shorin-ryu, any style of kung fu, all of the taekwondo, like all of that stuff is old enough that you're probably not doing it the same way regardless, right? But you can research and look into how it was done before and look at how it's done now. How do you yourself do it? Or how does your instructor teach it to you? And notice the differences and start to figure out the why, right? And Jeremy talks about this a lot. If you can know the why, you can learn more. And I think that understanding why things changed and how things changed can really make a huge difference in how you learn the art that you're learning. But I don't think it will make you punch and kick better. What do you think of
Give
that?
it another 20 years. Give it another 20 years, and you start to understand what I'm thinking. Because if you know the why, and the why is the most important, one of the two most important words in karate. Why?
Mm-hmm.
The other one is yet, as you said the other day.
Mm-hmm.
At 65, the why allows me to punch and kick with somebody half my age. I can stand with them half my age. If I did not know the why, I do not believe I could do that.
Interesting. When we release this episode, if whether you're watching or listening, let us know. I'm really curious to know what other people think. Do you think that knowing your lineage will help you kick or punch better? I think it might make you more effective because you might potentially have a better understanding of what to hit and why. But at its root, I don't know that it will make. For me, I'm not sure that it'll make me stronger or faster. But Mark, you are, as you said, you're 65. I just turned 48 a few days ago. You've got a couple of years on me. Maybe I will feel differently in 20 years. Here's the next question then. We're talking about right now. We're talking about direct lineage, or at least I think we are, in terms of who your instructor was and who their instructor was and who their instructor was, and so on and so forth. But let's go on a slightly different angle here and talk about the lineage in terms of the legends, right? I don't study Tang Sudo, but one of the most famous Tang Sudo practitioners would be Chuck Norris, right?
Yes. Yep.
If someone doesn't know, I mean, first off, who's not going to know who Chuck Norris is? Maybe he's a bad example. Everybody knows who Chuck Norris is. But if you are a martial artist in Tang Sudo and you wouldn't know, and you didn't know that Chuck Norris was a Tang Sudo practitioner, or if you're a Kempo practitioner and you don't know who Ed Parker was, for example, let's talk about that a little bit. Like, I definitely feel. I'm gonna let you go first. What do you think?
Well, the thing is, as I said early on, in my original style, which was Kempo, the instructor I trained with had a picture of William Chow in the center of the room. We had no affiliation with William Chow. I don't even think we could trace it back to him. We did a style of Kempo, and you would have been hard pressed to try to trace it back to him. And this is back in the 70s, mid 70s, or 74. William Chow was still alive, I believe, at that time.
Mm-hmm.
So, knowing your own lineage, finding your own lineage. I mean, it was weird.
Yeah.
But now you have all the roots, and we have so much we can find positive on the internet as well. Nowadays, if you're a Kempo karate stylist, you can go on the internet. I'm sure you can find Ed Parker, Jeff Speakman, even some little bit about William Chow on there.
Hmm.
Now you can see where the lineage goes and right up through that way.
Yeah, I think knowing whether you train in a certain style or not, I think knowing the pioneers to a degree, but the big names in those styles, I think is important. Just again to know the why, to know where it came from,
Yep.
and where as a person who it came from, and who were
Yes.
the big proponents of it. Whistlekick put out a book a while ago called The Legends, and it
Mm-hmm.
had Cynthia Rothrock, Bill
Mm-hmm.
Wallace,
Mm-hmm.
June Rhee, Fumio Demura, Jeff Speakman, um, and not knowing who these people are, I think, is a shame for the younger
Yes.
generation to not know
Yep.
who Bill Wallace is.
Yep.
To not know who Cynthia Rothrock is.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to be a kickboxing practitioner to still know who the top names were, 20, 30 years ago.
Right. Yep.
Actually, gosh, at this point, we're talking 40 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I definitely agree. I mean, a lot of people you mentioned, they're still living. So
Yeah.
a few have passed. A few have passed, but most are still living. Not to recognize these people as they are is a loss. A
Yeah.
loss. And I don't want to see the youth lose these great inspirations in the martial arts, either
Yeah.
living or passed on before.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and most of them. I mean, not only are they still alive. I mean, unfortunately, Junri has passed on. Fumio
Mm-hmm.
Demura passed earlier this year, but the other ones that I named, and make no mistake, I'm not saying these are the only legends we have.
Right.
Don Wilson was
Yep.
another one that's up there in terms of kickboxing, but these aren't the only legends that we have in the martial arts. But not only are they still alive, you can still train with them.
Oh yeah.
Every single one of them
Yep.
is still teaching seminars and
Yep.
actively out in the martial art community. And I think we as instructors should do. And I will speak. I'm not going to speak for you. I'll speak for myself. I think I should do a better job of making sure that my students recognize some of these older generation so they
Yes.
understand where their art came from and how they took their art and made it their own, because I think that
Yes.
can help them take the art I'm teaching to them and start to
Yes.
make it their own once they get to a certain level. I don't think yellow belt
Hmm.
should be making the art their own, but you get what I'm saying.
When they get there, definitely. Now, one thing, especially about the living legends, because when I started turning martial arts, actually Beverly, which is like one town over from where I'm sitting right now, uh, Remy Presses trained there and had seminars. So did Wally J, and they both had seminars. I did not go,
Mm.
and it's truly a shame I did not go. So all these things should be embraced, and as you said, pass it down to the next generation.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Um, what are we missing? What did we not chat about?
What did we not chat about? Hmm. I have to think for a second. What did we not chat? There's so much to chat about. I think we get to I think we get to the core of it all. But
Yeah, yeah,
if read a book,
yeah, yeah.
you
So
can start on.
I was going to say, if you're listening, tell us what did we miss. I
Yep,
think the two things we
yep,
really hit upon is knowing your lineage in terms of your own school. Obviously,
right.
I would hope you know your instructor's name. How
Hmm.
far back can you go? At a minimum, for the students that I have, they have to know their instructor,
Yep.
which is my instructor, because I
Hmm.
I co-teach. I teach with
Yep.
when he's not around and whatnot. But so they have to know our instructor, and they have to know who his main instructor was,
Yep.
and they have to know the founder of the system.
Very
That's it.
nice.
Um,
Very
but
nice.
knowing how far back they can go would be a good thing
Hmm.
to consider. So we talked
Yes.
about direct lineage. person to person to person to person. And then we talked about some of the legends
Yep.
within certain styles, and because that counts
Right.
as lineage too, whether it's my
Oh,
lineage or
definitely.
not.
For sure.
Knowing who some of these people we talked about, who Benny Urquidez was,
Hmm.
or Jeff Speakman, stuff, people like
Yep.
that. Even though they're not in the same style that I do, but knowing who they are,
Right.
I think can help you understand just martial arts in general better.
Oh, let's not forget Philip Ree.
Oh, absolutely. Yep, yep. All right. Anything else?
I think we gave them something to think about,
Yeah,
for
that's
sure.
all at Whistlekick. That's all we want to do. Did we
Yep.
make you
Yep.
think? And if you disagree with us, let me know. You can email me at Andrew at whistlekick.com. If you want to complain to Jeremy at whistlekick.com. Uh, um, but I think that'll do it. Is knowing lineage important? I think in a lot of ways it absolutely is.
Many ways.
I'm not convinced yet that it'll help me punch better, but in 20 years, maybe we will revisit this episode
Mm.
1475. I'll have you
Perfect.
back.
Perfect. We can do it.
All right. I guess then until next time,
Train hard,
smile.
smile, and have a great day.